again, everybody. Good morning. It's wonderful to be back here at St. Mark's. For those of you who I didn't get a chance to meet when I was here earlier in the year, my name is Courtney McKeon. I'm a licensed lay preacher in the Diocese of Central New York. My home parish is St. Matthew's, Liverpool, and I live there in Liverpool with my husband and my dad and my two sons. My younger son is full of energy and ideas. He has the gift of making things fun. When he was a little tiny boy, he didn't want to just play catch. He wanted to play toss the ball, and the floor is lava, and there are monsters chasing us. And now that he's 14 and obsessed with basketball, he spends huge amounts of time developing and mastering trick plays. He doesn't want to just throw the ball and have it go through the net. He wants to do it while he's blindfolded on a skateboard. Amazingly, he hasn't broken any bones. And even more amazingly, he lands these shots a ridiculous amount of the time. Unless, of course, my husband and I are watching. If we're watching, it's nothing but epic failure, which is enormously frustrating for the poor kid. He's got this incredible gift, but it is a gift that his parents will never see. And this kind of thing happens all the time in families. We get stuck in patterns where we just can't seem to be our best selves. Take my husband's youngest brother. He has two incredible gifts. He has this amazing ability to connect with people. He's a salesman, and he uses that every day in his work. And he also has the ability to be a true craftsman with his hands, to do great work with his hands. He's a member of the school board. He was president of the Rotary. He can do absolutely any kind of home repair and have it turn out beautifully. And yet, in our family, he is still seen as the irresponsible baby brother. He still gets blamed every time something goes missing in his parents' house, even though he hasn't lived there for 20 years. It's not just family dynamics that work this way. It happens at work and at school and in all sorts of other relationships. We've all had a boss or a coworker or a teacher or an acquaintance who walks in and we immediately freeze up, or we start babbling incoherently, or we drop things, or we're suddenly unable to do the things that have come easily to us in every other moment in our lives. And when I say we've all had times like this, I mean all of us, even Jesus. Today's gospel reading describes one of those times. At this point in the gospel according to Mark, Jesus is well into his earthly ministry. He's traveled all over Galilee, casting out demons, healing the sick, raising people from the brink of death. He's being followed by tons of people, not just the 12 disciples, but such huge crowds that the only way that he can get time to himself is by jumping into a boat and going out into the middle of the sea. And it's become clear to those crowds that Jesus is something more than just a guy with good ideas. He's more than simply a prophet. He is, in fact, the Messiah, the Son of God that they've been waiting for. So in the midst of all of this, Jesus returns to his hometown. And on the Sabbath, as he'd done in every single other place that he visited, he began to teach in the synagogue. And many who heard him were astounded. But unlike the many people who had been astounded by Jesus' words in every other place that he'd been, these folks weren't astounded in a good way. They were offended. They were offended because to them, Jesus wasn't anyone special. He wasn't a prophet. He certainly wasn't the Messiah. He was just a carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Jose and Judas and Simon. That kid they'd always known. They couldn't see him as anything else. And so the gospel says, Jesus could do no deed of power there in his hometown. Jesus is so very human in this gospel story. We can all identify with his frustration, with that feeling of not being able to do anything right in the eyes of certain people. But here's the good news. It's right there in the gospel this morning, even though it goes by so fast that it's easy to miss. Let's listen for it again. Then Jesus said to them, "Prophets are not without honor, except in their hometown, and among their own kin, and in their own house." And he could do no deed of power there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and cured them. Did you hear it? He laid his hands on a few sick people and cured them. Even though Jesus felt like he could do no deed of power in his hometown, the truth is that he laid hands on sick people and cured them, just as he had everywhere else. Jesus didn't stop being Jesus in his hometown. Those people who were astounded by him in a bad way didn't have the power to take God's gifts from him. God continued his work. He laid his hands on a few sick people and cured them. God gives every single one of us gifts. And those gifts don't disappear just because some people can't see them. My son is landing trick shots, even though I never see them. My brother-in-law is connecting with people and building things, and no, he didn't take the sleeping bag that went missing. No one has the power to take God's gifts away from you. Those gifts were with you when you were born. They're there now. They're with you in your hometown and everywhere else you go. God's gifts are with you every single moment of your lives, doing all sorts of good that even you may not see. Amen.